In this video, I'll be demonstrating the use of the new Remote Plus option with the M5StickC. I have my system set up. I have let's hide this junk. I'm connected to my stick. I've put the API key in. You can see right here is my device. And the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set up the Remote Plus. The only block in Remote Plus is a show QR code. This is going to be important for getting access to it. Although, unfortunately, not going to be able to use the API directly if you are on an iOS device. But if you're on an Android device, you'll use your phone. Otherwise, we'll use the preview and use your computer. I found that about 6 pixel or doing location 6.6 at 120 pixels gives a good QR code that we can see. If I hit run right now, the barcode will show up on my screen. So let's prove that we're connected. Yep, there. That looks good. Let's go 5.5 actually. 125. Sorry for the bell. There we go. That gives us a nice, big, easy to read barcode. We can use that from there. In this case, I'm demonstrating everything from the PC. So let's add a simple control. So this is going to be a web page shown on your phone or computer. And this is going to be talk to the M5 stick. So we're going to start off by dropping a label down sort of middle of there. I'm going to put it centered. I'm going to set the font to be nice and big so it's easy to see. We're going to call this counter. We're going to set the text to be 0. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a single button on our page, and that creates a new block of code. And we're going to create a variable called counter, lowercase c. And we're going to start off by setting counter to 0. And then we're going to have a loop that's going to constantly update the value of counter on the screen. So UI label capital C counter to lowercase c counter. So set the counter label to show the current counter value. And then whenever we press this button, which we are going to label +1, try again, +1, and we'll make it like a green button, I don't know, with black text. And we can change the size of the button, make it bigger. So whenever that happens, we're going to change counter by 1. So let's run the code. Now, if I was on an Android phone, I could scan this QR code and open on my phone. But for demonstrating this video, plus if you're on an Apple device, it doesn't seem to work. I'm going to click this button, and it's going to give me a URL. So I'm going to copy URL. I'm going to open a new tab called Control-V. Now, this is going to be really ugly because it does not scale well. If I press this button, it updates this thing. Notice it's not instantaneous. There is some lag. And it's not always consistent how long that lag is. And if I press it really fast, it will queue the commands. So if you get frustrated and press a bunch of times, you can stack a bunch of commands and it has to process those before it will actually do them. So be careful of that. Now to make this a little easier to work on and develop for, I'm going to stack these two tabs using Vivaldi. I'm going to right click, tile tab stack. And I'm going to make this tile much narrower. And I'm going to reload. That's much easier to see. Now, I'm going to click that. Now it'd be nice to have some feedback here. So we're going to take and add another block. We're going to add a value scanner. And I'm going to hide this. We're going to name that counter display. And we're going to make the font black. And how often we're going to check? Let's check every second. So 1,000. Oh, okay, looks like 3,000 is our minimum value. So we can slow it down, but we can't speed it up. That makes sense. Let's make the font large. If I want to show the title, I can show counter display. I'm going to leave the state label off. All right. So now to develop, I'm going to hide this UI. I'm going to hide this. And we're going to take right click, clean up blocks. And I'm going to change this to set the date on here to be count. Just drop down counter. So every 3 seconds, I'm going to refresh this. I'm going to load the code. Our counter should reset. I'm going to refresh this. And now if I hit the +1, that's going to update. And if I wait 3 more seconds, this will update. Let's make this a little more interesting so that we can change the counter either on here or from the device. So I'm going to add my when button A pressed, and I'm just going to duplicate this chunk of code here. Let's reload the code. We'll know it's reloaded when this sets back to 0. I'm going to refresh. I should not have to refresh this. I didn't change this. So if I press this, it goes out to 1. If I press this, it goes there, and that will update. It's up to 7, 8, 9. So now we have a controller between a web page and the M5 stick. What could we do with this? Let's think of some options for our next video.